I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.
I love to see my people party with me, man. Good to see you, Black Brown, Sweet Nikita, Miss Rhonda. Hey, happy birthday, Miss J. Hey, Rhea, Sweet Sharita. Party with me all night long. Say what?
Peace, good morning, let's go.
That's right, baby.
Welcome, 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 welcome,
Bring it to the
welcome.
front.
Facts.
Hey, Janine, well, guess what? Hey, when I see you, yeah, I get a little happy. Hey, Black Brown, I get a little happy when I see you. What? Baby, when I see you, yeah, I get a little happy. Hey, Francine, I get a little happy when you party with me. Well, guess what? When I see you, yeah. Hey, Jay, hey, Randy, I get happy when you party with me. Guess what? When I see you, yeah. Hey, Cole, I get a little happy when I see you. What? When I see you, yeah.
Good morning, welcome, 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 welcome.
I put your picture on my mirror. Start to blush when somebody said your name. In my stomach there's a pain. See you walk in my direction, I go the other way. I start to stutter when I speak. Try to stand on my knees, go away. What's happening to me? Anybody can you tell me what it means? I lay my head on my pillow. He got me staring out the window. Wish on a star for a sign.
Oh, that's a good
That's the
idea.
reason why, yeah.
Hold on. That's a good idea.
Hey, see
Get that
you.
beat.
Hey, Marlon, you sexy boy. Hey, hold on. When I see you. Hey, fellas, listen. I scribble X and O's on my notebook, checking out my hair and my nails look. I feel myself up in the zone. I get nervous when you call. Say I'm not home. See your face. I hear my favorite song. Should I send an email at home? I wonder if you know, or do you have a clue? Yeah, I lay my head on my pillow. He got me staring out the window.
Yeah, where'd you get it?
Was on a star for a sign.
Morning, Africans.
That's the reason why, yeah. Oh, yeah. See you, yeah. Marlon, so sexy, boy.
Oh, what's up, Omani? Yeah.
When I see you. Listen, something now
Exactly.
is taking over me. Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna run, I'm just gonna stand here and see. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Fresh in the building.
When I see you, yeah, I get a little
P
happy.
stands for
Here we
percussion.
go. I get a little happy when I see you. What? Hey. When I see you, yeah, yeah. Hey, Playboy, I get a little happy. What? Happy when you party with me. Hey, hey. When I see you,
I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I. Yeah, welcome everybody back to I Mix What I Like. Please come on in, do all the things, support the platform however is comfortable for you. Put this in your socials, all that stuff. Can Ahmad delete the comment with the link? I don't even see it, so maybe it happened already. But welcome everybody. Good to see you all. Thank you for joining me this morning. I got a couple things to get into. Of course, the World Cup 2026 is underway. One day you got to play VSOP. There's a lot of tracks I would like to play. There's a couple things that I've run into. One, I really like Vibe Band. I've seen them a lot of times. Their keyboardist used to play in my homeboy's church, may still. And I love that rendition of that song. It has a good audio quality. Not all live shows have that you can get, can't always guarantee to get that good quality. And it's sort of a become like a perfect little intro here. But the other thing that I've run into is that is copyright. So for instance, when Vibe Band, because they have an updated version of that performance on their more recent Nucci's Front Porch visit that I had put into an intro, and the sound is claimed with like harsh copyright. And I thought about making a fuss, but I don't really want to make a fuss with the go-go community. But the thing is, it's like, how are you putting a copyright on a cover song, a live performance of a cover song? And I've always thought technically they shouldn't be able to do that. But YouTube has a lot of funky things with it. And then sometimes, and then, you know, if you are demonetized, if the video is demonetized, even if it's left public, it doesn't get sent out into the algorithm. So it's not just about, it's not just the money. It's when YouTube says it can't make money off of video, it just stuffs it down. So that's why. So, and there's been a number of issues with that over you know, the last year or so, where and I get it, because the people who create the recordings, you know, there are people who do the recordings and the sound and get good audio and all of that, and they want some sort of, but I mean, I'm like, you know, I mean, what do my videos get? You know what I mean? I might, it's somewhere between 1,000 and 3,000 views. It's not like, and then, you know, they get credit for it. So if anything, I thought it's a promotion for the band. I don't get, but so I just keep it with that. I keep it simple. Nobody bothers me with that video, and it's great, and it makes me feel like it never wears out. So it improves my mood every time I hear it, and I think it's a great intro for those who are unaware, you know, about go-go, and the whole video is and seeing, you know, I don't know him, but my man, who is just the perfect emblem for the go-go show, because at every show there's always at least one or two hard rock, you know, they too cool to really move, you know, they, you know, big dudes kind of stand in the middle of the floor, like, you know, and it's a little bit like, and they just kind of looking around, maybe get a little head nod, but they're not really, they're just too cool sipping on, you know. So when I see that dude in there, I'm like, it's just perfect. So, but that's why, but I'm not mad. I'll try some other ones. That's it. If I can take the credit, I will. DC Vibe Band, and if you ever get a chance to see them live, I mean, it's just such a good time, man. It's such a good time. I'm already planning my 55th birthday in September. I'm gonna find a show. I'm gonna be somewhere. And as Pharaoh Monch, the GOAT, of rap music has said, I'll be in there. I'll be laying in the cut like Neosporin. Oh man. But all right, let's get into a couple things here. There's a sort of centerpiece I'm going to get to related to the World Cup and Palestinian football. And a new book I started reading thanks to David Silberg's suggestion. But there are a couple of sillier things that I thought we would start with. First of all, again, thanks everybody. I mean, we just sort of cruised well past 20,000 subscribers, and it's growing, and thanks, appreciate it. But I will say, just again, the reality is between the politics and really just the politics and the relationship and the preference of advertisers. If you do appreciate the show here, the platform, it may help to do a little bit extra to support the videos, whether you're hyping them or sharing them or commenting or whatever, making sure you're still subscribed. Sometimes people report they get unsubscribed without being told, if you to help overcome some of the institutional resistance, those types of things do help. But okay, so one thing, I can't do it that way. Keep forgetting I can't do it that way. One thing, this is a late addition to the run sheet. Oh man, am I going to be able to do that? Are they going to let me do that here? Let's see if this will work. All right, give me a second. I gotta get a code. But anyway, so how is that wrong? Okay. All right, now this should solve the problem. Save the info. No. Can I just see what I logged into? No, I cannot. So I got to do that again. Hold on, my bad, everybody. I keep forgetting that with the different login, I got to do these things. But so I got word of this. They're actually this group apparently is doing something for Juneteenth, and maybe some of you will find this to be a good gift.
How to play Broker Brilliant, the only financial literacy drinking game. You can either play in large groups or with 2 people. So we have 3 types of cards. We have take a shot cards, Q&A cards, and currency cards. The take a shot cards each come with different prompts. If the prompts apply to you, you take a shot. If you get a Q&A card, you read the question and the person has to answer the question correctly. If you don't answer the question correctly, you must take a shot. If you do answer the question correctly, you receive a currency card. The more currency cards you have, that's how you win the game. You can even play for money by each player putting money in a large pot and taking the money home when it ends. This game is good for date nights, game nights, family nights, anytime you're trying to introduce financial literacy and just have a fun game to play and a new game where you can make money as well. This game is for that. Make sure you get your copy available now.
That's a good idea.
What's good, y'all? We about to do a quick how to play Broker Brilliant.
So how, I didn't even think about that. I think that's a great idea, though. I don't own copyright. Let's see if I can. I'm going to look into that. Oh wait, let's check one more. Now I hadn't actually looked at their Instagram page. Let's just see 3 tips for college athletes.
First tip 1, network. Don't sit there and just go to college, play ball, and think, oh, well, I'm a dope ball player. That's it.
Yeah.
Nah, people need to know you outside of your basketball skill. Who are you as a person? Don't ignore the fact that basketball will eventually end. And it's not what you know, but who you know will get you ahead.
It's a fact.
The second thing I would say is if you are traveling as a college athlete and you're traveling commercially, because not every school get private jets, you need to make sure that you connecting your flights to your own freaking flyer account, because them colleges is paying for your flights.
Oh, I thought this was.
But
I
that
thought
flight
she might be
belongs to
saying.
you.
And you start building them points.
You start building them free points. You don't even have to have a credit card to do that.
Yep.
Just the account.
Yeah, and that's free. That's free.
Listen,
free.
that's how I got started. That's how I got
started. We're
started.
gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that.
That's how I got started. And the third thing I would say is don't underestimate your ability. A lot of times we think we are our sport.
So the joke I made to the folks that sent this to me was for this to make sense, they have to misspell revolution by adding an N, by calling this financial revolution. So again, it's not to say that these are not on some level helpful tips, but to suggest that this is some sort of revolutionary approach to understanding the economy and improving it. Oh wait a minute, let me see what they say here about the
There was a thing that just came out, I forgot who released it, where they said that they're about to remove the requirement to have a bachelor's degree for a lot of jobs, right? So what do you say to now? I feel like we're in a world, in a space where your degree is starting not to even have the same value. I'm not going to say it doesn't matter,
right?
But it doesn't have the same value that it used to have. So now I like to look at things as the return of investment.
Right.
If I spend, let's say, over 4 years, $90,000
indeed
to go to an institution, did I get a return of investment that's $90,000 worth? Right. So what do you say to people who feel like college isn't worth it?
Okay, so first, one, I believe you can get way more than $90,000 of investment. It also depends on how much you put in. It's not just money. You can't just put in the money. This ain't that kind of party, right?
Okay.
I mean, you got to put yourself into it to get that value out, right? So part of it is the money. Am I getting the value for the $90,000 I put in? But the other part is,
by the way, this is President Abdullah Bethune-Cookman, HBCU in Florida. That's who we're hearing from here.
We have put you in front of the smartest people in the world in our faculty. We told them to have office hours, so they would meet you after class, in class and out of class. Did you go?
But apparently now he's at Virginia State.
Class? Did you go to office hours? If you pay $5 for a bag of chips, you eat every chip. Why pay $5 for a bag of chips and throw away half the chips? But if you don't go to class, you're throwing away half the money. If you're not going to office hours, you're throwing away half the money. If you're not looking at study abroad, if you're not going to advising, right? So you got to do that work too, right? So the investment.
Students never come to my office hours unless it's some sort of an emergency attempt to beg for consideration for a grade, but they never come there for some sort of, literally never. I mean literal here, using the word literally. They literally never come to my office for office hours to build, to extend learning, to ask about various opportunities. Maybe they know better because I have access to none at Morgan, but I do think he's making a good point here.
Investment is not just.
There was a thing that.
So okay, so I might look into more of this channel, and I think that's a good idea to get a copy of that game and then play the game. First of all, I wanted to note that part of a financial literacy educational drinking game is A, encouraging drinking alcohol, which is unhealthy, and B, encouraging gambling, which is financially unhealthy. So I think there's that immediate contradiction after, as I said, you have to misspell revolution for any of this to make sense. Let's see, where does it say? Where does it say you can buy the game? Broker Brilliant, the ultimate game. Let's see. Buy with shop. I will do that. Wait, let me back this. Let's so I'm gonna get a copy of this game. And we are gonna play. So, by the way, so this is a good time. Sign up. The QR code's on the screen for my Patreon, and where you can join for free. and we will make this available to free and of course paying supporters to join the game. So if you would like, let's see, no. If you would like to play, the game has now been ordered, and when I get it, and I'm assuming in a week or so, we will set up a time to play the financial literacy drinking game. I need to credit whose suggestion was that, by the way, that I do this? Was that Old Dirty? Whose suggestion was that? Anyway, if you're still here, please. Office hours were traumatic. Professor Anthony Hobson, Africana Studies at Georgia State University, was terrible. It felt like an opportunity to berate students. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yikes. No, now I will say the only time I think I've approached whatever you're describing there is when students would only show up to beg for some, Dr. Boy, I know I haven't been there all semester, but I had this crisis and that crisis and this death and this and this. Can I please? That's when I'm like, I'm not interested in this. And it's not because I want to be mean. It's that I do still harbor this desire to build. And I hate when the interaction between me and students is reduced to something transactional in terms of a grade. And I'm like, oh man, if you just come to class, you know what I'm saying? Like that kind of stuff. But the whole berate student type thing, nah. In fact, I tend to go too far the other way. It was me. Okay, thank you, Old Dirty. We're gonna. Oh, the Jamon 93 suggested it. It wasn't me. Okay, my bad. It wasn't me. He said, like Shaggy said, it wasn't me. It was okay. Thank you, Chitty Maka, and the Jamon for the suggestion. Yeah, it's like I'm like, that's terrible, but sounds specific to the. Oh yeah. Oh okay. Oh yeah. Yeah, I would tend to think that most of us are not that bad. I would hope so. But the reality is, in 20 years, this fall will be my 20th year at Morgan State, and I think I could literally count the amount of students on one hand who in that time period have come to my office hours to build for no ulterior motives. All right. Okay. Before we get to anything, there are a couple other things I want to get to before we get to something serious, but I'm gonna save that one. One of them is really bizarre to me. Let's see. Can I get there here? Had a little Twitter buying power incident thing that I thought was kind of funny, but also explanatory. All right, so I see I cannot log in here. Why is it doing like this? All right, we can close that. We can close that, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna open that, and then we're gonna paste that, and then we're gonna go over here, and we're gonna share. Here we go. So I'm on, I get tagged over here. The other day. And it's on this story here about Yahya Abdul Mateen. Says he's actively trying to understand where money is coming from in Hollywood in an effort to promote more Black stories. It's my goal and a part of my mission statement to push more Black and diverse stories with more Black and diverse leads at a quality level that matches what I've been able to do in my career thus far, he declares. Every time I'm on set, I'm looking at how things are being done. I'm trying to understand where the money is coming from. Now, I haven't read this whole article. I'm not really interested so much in the story. And where the money is coming from is I don't think that difficult to assess. And please see the Tyler Perry videos that we've done. I do think FD did a good one on Tyler Perry, and that breaks down where the money is coming from. So if you know, and it's just a handful of investors, institutional studios and folks. And then like this person said, Israel and Dubai, if you want to get this, you got to give up your soul. So some of the comments are funny. And of course, there's the reverse hashtag arguments in here talking about, you know, you're not even American, you know, this, that, and why are you taking our jobs and all this other kind of stupid stuff. Here's reference to Tyler Perry. And this is where I got tagged. So this person here said, where did Tyler Perry get his money? Black American spending has officially projected to top $2.1 trillion to $2.2 trillion, a massive financial milestone driven by a young tech-savvy population and growing entrepreneurship. Get off your knees and stop begging and get to work. So somebody tagged me here and said, you know, you might want to look into to Jared's book. I just chimed in and said, yeah, you know, and I saw the Tyler Perry reference. So I said, you know, you could start here. My summary response to FD's video talking about Tyler Perry buying power, where he gets his money. And, you know, and then this is the response. Lies, garbage, trash, fake page. He survived periods of homelessness and living in his car. Perry refused to give up, refining his plays marketing strategy to directly connect with church-going African-American communities, which this person is ignorantly suggesting are producing for Tyler Perry the billions that he's living off of. And again, you should check out the video I did in summary, but FD's more complete video on how this actually works. And it was the exploitation of the Black church-going community that got Perry to the next stage of white banker investment and institutional support, distribution, and so on and so on. So I responded saying, you're claiming my work to be lies without reading or watching any of it. Okay, peace. By the way, I've been homeless, lived in someone else's car. I didn't even have one, and went on to study what put me there. Your methods are failing you. Your conclusions are entirely upside down. Which I did. I admit. I thought I had a little bar there. I thought I did think I had like a little mini bar there. Can we call it? Can we call it a
Now listen.
Just a mini? Because he's like, I had to live in my, or they're like, I had to live in my car. I don't know what I had to live in my car. And I was like, I didn't even have a car when I was homeless. So Tyler Perry was, was a step up. Tyler Perry had a car. I didn't have a car. And then I actually did, I did read the article. I forgot I did read the article because I started, I guess I had on June 4th. Oh, I didn't even realize this was that long ago. But apparently on June 4th, I had some time. Did you even read the Variety article? And then I quoted, get Kevin Feige on the phone, because he's saying, he's in the article, he's saying, get Kevin Feige to get me my money so I can get this WonderMan gig. And then I said, OMFG, WonderMan gives Abdul Mateen beyond the comedy the permission to play a Black character who's allowed to be a person. And then I hashtag permission. And I was saying, this is what the article is saying, that the industry is permitting him to do whatever he's doing. This is not some self-driven Black radical, pull your bootstraps, whatever. And then I said, it keeps getting better. Abdul Mateen, his production company, House 1110, named after his childhood home in Oakland. Yeah, and I thought they were saying he wasn't even from here. Anyway, my bad, whatever. These reverse hashtags, they don't know that. After his childhood home in Oakland, focuses on uplifting talent from underrepresented communities. The company launched alongside a creative partnership with Netflix. So what I was trying to just quickly point out is that there is no independent Black source of funding that will get you to these popular stages. And that at the end of the day, whether it's elite investment banker, private equity, deals with Netflix, Amazon, there's some sort of institutional relationship that will be required if Black people or anyone want to hit that big time stage. So this idea that there is this autonomy and that Black people can create and produce whatever they want and Hollywood will accept whatever they want is part of the nonsense. And again, please, I'll put it in the, I will put the video I did highlighting Soot Jali's work, where he breaks down the models of sequencing in media that explain the fallacy in the original model that claims that consumers only get what we want. So if the music and movies are bad, if the fashion is bad, if the news is bad, if the presidents and politicians are bad, it's our fault because consumers are, we're the ones being served what we ask for. And I've always, it used to be that argument in hip hop. And I used to be always like, well, how is it that teenagers and the youth who are the primary consumers of this music are somehow generating the original interest that the industry is responding to? So as Jali shows in the revised model that critical media theorists eventually evolved, the advertisers are put back into their proper place. The ones who promote the products, the ideas, the mental production, as Marx called it, of the ruling elite that is imposed on us, so that the wants we have are themselves created by those who can serve them with whatever it is that they prefer that we have in the first place. So that's why we have to be critical of what we like. How do we know what we know, and why do we like what we like? These are not natural, innate. And then I do want to continue to learn about the science that has evolved around this, how by the time we have decided or acted or spoken, the process deciding on what we're going to say and do has already at some millisecond quantum level been determined. So even that's why Jan Easterly said our cognitive infrastructure has to be built from the ground up so that those in power can plug in all of the pieces that then we think we've reached and come to as a natural part of a conclusion, of a desire, an innate desire that they can then serve. It's wild. So this idea that Black people can produce whatever they want and Tyler Perry can do whatever he wants. No, he was promoted, funded, platformed precisely because he provided the ruling elite with what they want from their consumer base. So, but I also just thought it was interesting that the immediate response to someone saying, hey, he's got a book on this very topic was lies. He's a liar. No, I haven't read anything. What I got to read for? He's a liar. All right. Let me got another one here that I had sort of as a holdover. Let's check this out real quick.
Of African people around the world is ownership. The focus on
hold on, let me start that again. Because you got to hear the
to the liberation of African people around the world is ownership.
All right. So I'll have to let it play when it loops itself. But he's saying the key to the African liberation is ownership.
The focus on work and income limits your ability to have real economic power. The real impact is not work and income.
So wrong. So first of all, regardless of race, class, gender, etc., and so forth, overwhelmingly a majority of any group of people will be workers, not owners. So the onus on any properly functioning society should be what benefits go to the majority of the people, to the most people. So in this case, that would be workers. So it's already being framed in this backwards. Only through ownership can you exercise power, which is exactly the point that is being suppressed among Black and working people, which is that the real power we have is not in ownership, it's in collective labor power, collective organization. It's radical militant forms of formation. That's where the power is. This idea that we should all be clamoring against one another to become a singular owner, instead of demanding that regardless of ownership, which maybe itself should be collective, that their job is to oversee the proper function of that process and to assure that the wealth and services and goods produced are evenly distributed. So it's already,
It is ownership and net worth. That's right. The key to the liberation of African people.
Oh, okay. And Steinbridge, CEO. Now, let me see what is that? What is Steinbridge? Because the CEO is not an owner, by the way. The chief executive officer is not an owner. So, all right. So let's just see what he's talking about here real quick, because I haven't really looked into this. The Steinbridge Group. All right. Investing, Tawan Davis. Let's see. Okay, so here's the team. Tawan Davis, $7.5 billion in real estate experience from Goldman Sachs, Prudential, the City of New York, People's Corp. So I was going to say, I guess technically he is. Well, this is the team. This doesn't necessarily mean who the ownership is, but even if we assume that they are in ownership, they're coming out of the very white financial. Oh, Robert Smith. Okay, here we go. Okay, so these are the supporters. Robert Smith Student Freedom Initiative with Steinbridge Group accelerate their $100 million privately funded capital commitment to the nation's HBCUs and other MSIs. Where is that? I haven't heard anything about that at Morgan. All right, let's see. Growing innovative real estate investment firm, Steinbridge has successfully implemented a real estate investment strategy on residential rental. So are they meaning that, so when he says ownership, is he meaning ownership of homes? He must be meaning ownership of homes. You must buy a home using his group. And why is it called Steinbridge? Who's Steinbridge? Was that a name? Was it like Stratman Oakmont? Wolf of Wall Street, just coming up with a name that sounds fancy to hide the fact that that this is a black-owned team or something like that. Yeah, that's the partnerships. But in any event, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, investing in real estate is not going to change the economic conditions of African people. And then telling people to ignore their condition as a laborer and their interests as a laborer, and saying that they should try to become an owner instead of their collective power as workers is bizarre. That's bizarre. That's bizarre. All right. Got another one here sent to me to quickly look at, told to go to minute 742. So let's move this along here. Nigerian owns 106 London properties. Oh wow! So this is talking more about home ownership in London.
Area of North Carolina. Oh shit! Victor, me, my very beautiful husband. I love you, baby. He started.
We should all be loved like that.
Victor is starting a series on diaspora success with monthly seminars and workshops for anybody that is living in the Raleigh area, the Durham area, who is interested. Anybody that is interested and you are in that area, he wants to cover so many topics that can help us all to succeed as immigrants in this America. And he's doing all this for free, So he's bringing experts from many fields to enlighten us about.
So I remember I did see this whole video. So yes, this is the I was gonna say reverse hashtag, but it's not even that. This is the reactionary pan-Africanism, where it's not even Pan-Africanism, because she's not even advocating for Africans in the African diaspora. She's saying as an immigrant community, she's targeting immigrants with the same financial literacy propaganda targeting Black and other so-called domestic, locally based communities. And again, instead of encouraging radical Pan-Africanism, radical solidarity among workers, or anything like that to improve our collective condition, it's this whole thing of, no. You all aren't just learning through courses like mine how to take advantage of what is an opportunity in this country. And then they become part of the propaganda machine that does target Black America in a negative way and other communities in a negative way, suggesting that, hey, we could come over here and do so well so quickly. What's wrong with you? When in reality, they're following the same financial literacy propaganda and nonsense that falsely promotes opportunity through their kind of classes and lectures and information, and only really enriches them through the signing up of their core. In other words, again, I have not looked into them in full detail, but I'm confident in saying that they are not wealthy from real estate and Wall Street, and that whatever money they're making is coming from selling these kinds of courses and lectures and working with financial advisors who are coming out of I don't know, probably some sort of backwards. Oh, it does say for Africans living in the Triangle area. So this is maybe a backwards Pan-Africanism. But they're offering cryptocurrencies, stock trading, grants for business, real estate, government contracting, life insurance. This is it's just
things like real estate, like how to make money with AI, securing government grants for your business, stock market investment and trading, how to make your kids millionaires by the time they turn 30. I wish that our parents did that for us. Government contracting, that's a big one. A lot of Africans are now waking up to government contracting, and they're making big money with in that aspect, as well as the benefits of having life insurance policies, cryptocurrencies, financial planning, and so much more.
So everything that again we've continued to demonstrate here through data, history, science, research does not work in terms of improving communities' relationships to the economy is being promoted here as some sort of radical Pan-Africanism. You know, so anything but redistribution, socialism, labor, strikes, unions, all the things that all of these groups should be joining and focused on is being replaced, or the attempt is to replace all of that with no. You just need to know how to invest in cryptocurrency. And why join the Pan-African Community Association or the AAPR? Why join a radical Black Pan-African organization or support the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists, or and why do any of that when you can just take a couple of classes and get paid? Because there's nothing wrong with the USA or capitalism or anything. It's just, All right, so I got to get him back on here for an interview. I just want to quickly let folks know, if they haven't heard it already, that my man Marcel P. Black is back with some new music. Please check it out. I'll put this in the show description, but just check his stuff out at Bandcamp, and some dope new music, and a nice long, extensive catalog as well. And you can just see from some of the titles here, Negus Al-Kebulan, one of the original names of the African continent, Black Love, a whole dental plan,
Niggas are Capuline. I'm just gonna let the ancestors talk, man. Marcel P. Black, J. Philly. Let's do it. I'm licking shots from my ancestors' tongue, from my burning plantations. Only time I love a run. I'm putting nooses round Confederate necks. Lynching their monuments till there ain't none left. Triple K, sheet burner, the super swastika shooter. Visions in that Turner, I do you sing hallelujah. I'm reveling that rebellious resistance and revolution. Riots and rap music from the soul is my solution. I spit that blackness that these crackers can't colonize. Never get signed cause the labels can't commodify. The type of blackness with low streams on Spotify. Never platform cause the God will never compromise. The type of blackness whose origins start in Africa that spread across the globe. In our capitals, the Ascara. The type of black created by the Most High, who loved us all so much she put her sun up in the sky like. Black is beautiful, black is magical, black is powerful, black is radical, black is beautiful, black is magical.
So let's support that. Let's support that. Let's support that. Let's support that. Shout out to Marcel P. Black. Make sure that's in the show description as well. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Pan-African Saturday schools, if they got them near you. Yeah. And salute to Marcel P. Black. So, and somebody in there took a shot at me. Who was that taking a shot at me saying Pharaoh was the GOAT? Ain't no MC better than Pharaoh. Marcel is up there. Skip is up there. They in there. They might be right, shoulder to shoulder, but nobody's better. Skip is there. Check us. Did you see our show Sunday? Are they in the consortium of hip hop? Exactly. Good question. All right, 2 more things at least. And then Friday, everybody will be finally getting to my discussion. And I'm not sure if I'm going to be solo or if others are going to join me Friday morning, but I do not love boosters discussion is happening. At least the first one for me. And then we'll see, what others occur. Yeah. All right, one more thing. I mentioned this the other day. I think it was on Saturdays with Renee. I just wanted to play this short clip from a recent piece from BenNorton, just to show you where just to keep everyone as angry as I am about what is claimed about this economy.
19 households
today
in the U.S. taking this to a whole new level. On a lot of public attention to this issue, not only in the U.S., but around the world. Of course, everything that I'm talking about today in the U.S. is true of many other capitalist countries. But as is often the case, the U.S. has taken this to a whole new level. It's like those other problems on steroids. And Gabriel Zucman looked at the concentration of wealth of the 0.00001% in the US. That is the richest 19 households. And he looked at their wealth as a percentage of national income. And it is now nearly 14%, which is way higher than at any other moment in the history of the United States. And I slightly modified Zucman's chart to show the different eras in the modern history of the US where government policy changed in response to this extreme concentration.
And can I just highlight again? Can you see up there the top 0.0001%? Nineteen households. 300 and some million people in this country, and they're talking about 19 households have 14% of the national income. And people want to talk to me or anybody else about buying power and circulating dollars and real estate and cryptocurrency. If you all don't get the fuck out of here and talk about some redistribution, I'm not interested. I don't want to hear it. This is crazy.
Of wealth. And what's striking is that in the late 19th century, the United States was dominated by a small handful of oligarchs known as the robber barons. This consisted of these monopolists who dominated up-and-coming industries like the railroad industry and the oil industry,
John D.
such as John D. Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie and Cornelius Vanderbilt. That period in the late 19th century was known as the Gilded Age. And if you look at that period, starting in roughly around 1870, you can see at that time, the richest 0.00001% of U.S. households hold wealth that equaled to about 1% of national income. And by 1890, roughly, they held wealth that was nearly 4% of national income. However, today, the new robber barons, the new oligarchs, have wealth equivalent to 14% of national income, meaning that when people compare the time that we're living in today to the Gilded Age, it's actually a gross understatement. This is way, way worse than the original Gilded Age.
So, salute to Ben. Obviously, his work should be in everybody's media diet. But I just caught that and thought, again, just speaking of myself, I might be all kinds of irresponsible financially. I might be stupid, slow, backwards. I don't know what I'm doing. With Dr. Brown, I only scored four out of 8 on the financial literacy quiz. Maybe I barely deserve to exist. I'm just so slow. I barely deserve to exist. Howsoever, that 14% wealth held by the 0.00001% of the population, I did help contribute to. I went to work, paid taxes, paid bills, streamed some nonsense, watched some nonsense. I support the economy. So it shouldn't matter how absurdly irresponsible, backwards, ignorant, foolish, ridiculous, stupid I am. I've contributed to that amount of wealth, and all that should be discussed is, where does that show up in my life in terms of not only income, but or maybe specifically debt, but in terms of healthcare, education, housing, and so on, retirement. And nobody, and even, now let me rephrase that. Let's say that 0.00001% are like, they're really they're that smart. They're that much better as a human being than I am. Let's grant that for the sake of this discussion. It still shouldn't matter. That level of inequality still shouldn't exist, because they can't, as much as incredible and special as they are, that income, that wealth, that the society that they benefit from can't exist without me. You can't do that without me spending. I don't know. They just told me my Netflix subscription went up. You can't. My phone bill, my mortgage payments, my. I don't know. I'm just looking around at all this shit on my desk. Candles, lighters. I bought a lens cleaning rag. I have a separate rag to clean the screen on my laptop, because you can't use this on glasses, and you can't clean the computer screen with the same stuff you use to clean the glass lenses. So I got all of that. All of that is producing that wealth for these motherfuckers. Look at this thing I even got. Look at this bougie little cleaning thing I got for all of my devices and my ear pods and my keyboard. I can keep. So forgive my ignorance and stupidity and laziness and backwardness and this infected black culture that I suffer from, that black Americanness that holds me back. I'm not even as good as the diaspora immigrants. I'm just a mess over here. I've got this report still sitting here from when I was diagnosed of some shit at 14. I hesitate to reread it. Some undiagnosed stuff that I'm dealing with in this report. I'm sorry. And I still help create all that wealth for you. And so that's the part. So all I'm saying is that's what needs all this shit about financial literacy quizzes and this game, which I got, and then I just bought the game. I just spent $32 and 10 change on that financial literacy drinking game. And then I got to go buy something to drink. I'm contributing. That's messed up. That's messed up. I'm over here. It's psychological. I'm telling you, Yipper, one day you're going to reveal yourself and we're going to be long lost friends, if not family. Nobody who doesn't know me could be this funny related to my life. I'm balling. I'm trying to tell you, I'm out here balling and I'm barely functional. What else I got over here? I got my I Mix What I Like coffee mug. Support Black Liberation Media. Diablo mode. No, Yipper is not my wife. I do know that. Yipper can't be my wife because there's been too many times where I could literally see her while Yipper is over here saying wild stuff. And my wife is too private, so she wouldn't even under a pseudonym, even pseudonymously, she wouldn't do that. But I have a beige sibling. We do this. Yeah. I'm telling you, wait till one day we're going to do this reveal. So everybody stay tuned because I'm gonna put that on Patreon when Yipper and I take a selfie together at the family reunion. Oh, is the background really making you sick? My bad, Brittany. I can change it. I could change it. It's just these backgrounds I found on YouTube. It's just YouTube, which I have a subscription to too. We not taking a selfie at the family reunion? Oh man, that's messed up. All right, let me get to the there's two. Okay, one more thing and then the main thing. This was another late edition. I didn't. So do any of you watch? Do you all know the rapper Logic, right? And do you all listen to Logic? Is he does he mean anything to you? Barcelona. Actually, Barcelona is going to come up again here in a few minutes. So that's actually well timed. Logic is racist, I think. And you know what? First of all, Odyssey, we're not even doing that. I don't mean, there's no comparison. Odyssey, I have not listened to Logic, so I honestly don't know. But Odyssey is as a producer and MC is in a whole other category. And based on what I saw here, I definitely wouldn't put Odyssey in this category. I don't want to put them. So I'll put the link in the show description. Because the whole watch, I'm gonna start watching this podcast more often. I've seen them a couple times. You all know who Potty Mouth and Potty Mouth twice.
Yeah.
So they reviewed Logic. Logic apparently put out a movie. And these two on their podcast, Logic made a movie to affirm his blackness is the name of the yeah, these two are dope. These two, like, I like their show. I haven't seen it as much as I'd like to. Now, they actually say they raised this question. So I was when Logic was, so years ago, my students brought me Logic to my attention because of this, that we're both mixed. And but he was younger, and what they played for me in the class at the time, I wasn't really feeling it, and I was just like, okay, and he was younger, so I was like, okay, his young man, he's got his own journey, okay, we're both biracial, so whatever. But according to the fellas here, apparently there's some alleged in there, and it was alleged that his father was mixed. So they start joking about him being in Octoroon and all this other kind of stuff, but not, and only because of the context of what was their focus, which will not be mine. Their focus of the critique of his film was how often the N-word was used by people who are not melanated. So, or I should say, they specifically were pointing out how Logic would use the N-word when no other black people are on screen, like when he's talking to his white other characters, or they talk about him in his private life, because apparently he also has a white wife and a child and or children, and apparently they think that based on what he shows in this film, that they think he's revealing that in his private life he uses the N-word all the time. So they raise this very legit concern about you claiming some sort of blackness because you're mixed, and then the N-word is just thrown all over the place, absent black people. So like, and I admit, in my own life, and maybe another time I'll come back and talk more about this, but I have been, even unconsciously looking to hold a certain line. Even famously having a big fight with a white friend of mine back in high school, who, when NWA came out, he wanted to say all the words and wanted to, say the N-word as much as possible. And we had an argument that almost, devolved into fisticuffs, because I was saying, you cannot say the word. I don't care if it's on the song. I don't care if other black people are saying, I don't care what the situation is. You don't have permission. And and you're definitely not going to use your proximity to me as permission. So they had this very interesting conversation, but I'm only going to play you the part that really that made me actually want to include this in something I was doing, because I was really enjoying this video. The two of them are hilarious. They work well together, the two co-hosts. And then I largely agree with every single thing they were saying about this whole thing of, why do you have a certain black character in your film to just get off all these N-words? Then you're using the N-word when other black people are not on screen. It's like this weird thing. And then this part, though, this is where I said, okay, now I feel like they put the ball signal up in the air and called me into this.
It does.
And then there's a scene of him and the white lady who I previously spoke about.
Yeah.
They're talking about their dreams, and I thought it might have been a love interest thing. Then I found out she likes tables, yeah, which they never
another
never go back to. No,
never follow up on at all. And while they're having this talk, they're cleaning the windows, because this shop has a lot of windows. And inside the window of this shop, did you see this?
No.
Have you all seen it?
There's a sign in the window that says, "Minding my black-owned business."
That's fucking crazy.
Y'all see that?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Minding my black-owned business. When I saw this, I had one thought in my head. Imagine, because the movie takes place in Portland. Oregon's the state.
The state, yeah.
Portland's the city.
Yeah.
But neither one of those are densely populated by black people. So imagine you visit Portland or Oregon. You go there, you're like, I want to visit somewhere black. Like, where's the black part of town? You look up, black-owned businesses. This pops up. Oh, it's a record shop owned by a black person. Oh, yeah. I can't wait to go in.
Great.
Talk to them.
Support black businesses.
Support black businesses. Yeah. You walk in, you see Logic at the front counter. Hey man, what's going on? Ain't not much, brother. What's going on, my nigga? Whoa.
Whoa. Why are you writing the sequel?
Whoa. I don't think you should be saying that. No, I'm biracial. I'm mixed race. I'm half black, half white. You are the person who owns this black-owned business? Yeah, it's me. I will cause a fucking scene. Me personally, I will go rip that shit out the window. I'm like, nigga, you're not black.
At a certain point, I started.
That was the line. When he said, nigga, you're not black. And he said, you can't use the N-word, but he said, nigga, you're not black. I'm tearing aside. That was funny. That was funny to me. So the whole video.
Yeah, listen.
The whole video was bars. It's funny. It was topical. They made good points. But mostly what got me was the comedy. It was funny the way, and there's a lot of that in there. But I thought the same thing. So the first thing I thought was that my initial very, very first reaction was, before I focused on the owner claim in the sign, was that Logic in some way was, I know he didn't mean to do this, perfectly. And yeah, I know somebody said he's also from Maryland. I don't accept I don't accept any other comparisons. I rejected it when my students brought it to me. You both Maryland mixed hip hoppers, or at least you. No. We're not doing that. But initially, I thought, okay, Logic is unintentionally making the point that Nielsen, Selig, and McKinsey have been making about buying power and marketing to Black communities. That according to their surveys, Black people only need to see some sort of an allusion to Black Lives Matter, Black people, Black ownership, support Black, and it doesn't actually matter to those consumers if it's actually Black owned. It only matters if there's some concern from the proprietor for Blackness. So I thought that this was in some way him making a point with the white girl and him being the Black owner of this minding my Black owned business was, but when you put the ownership in it, to their point, now I think you're doing something different. And then I actually thought, similar to some of the I think funny discussions that I had at one point with Glenn Ford and others in some activists and in some media work spaces about how we show up. And we even made the jokes we put together initially, Black Liberation Media. I even made the joke we started doing Earn Your Liberation, and I thought one of the first names that I pitched for the show was 2.5 Black Men. And my point being was, like, I get it. I get where I am politically, historically, culturally. My own personal experience is a little bit different from even the standard so-called mixed experience. But all that to say, I would not open up a store. Let me think about that. Depending, my initial thought is I would not open up a store and then put it's Black owned up there like that if I'm the single proprietor of the store. I don't know that I would do that. I might do it. I don't know that I would do it. I might do it. Now, if I was in Logic's position, where so much of my context was white spouse, white friend group, white this, I definitely wouldn't do it. Maybe in my context I would, but the point being, I get his point. Because if Jared was walking down the street in Portland, Baltimore, or anywhere, and saw Logic and the white girl wiping the signs down and talk about this is my Black owned store, I might have the same reaction. Oh man. but that to me was hilarious. And of course, what should be the main point is that Black ownership does not mean something good for the collective of the Black community. In many ways, this does prove the point that even Logic can claim a Black-owned business, and there's no Black people in that region benefiting from his store ownership. And in fact, you could even make more of my point that Logic is benefiting from the empty symbolism of claiming something being Black-owned, that even were he fully Black, making that same claim, in terms of the material impact on the Black community, it would have no difference. It would make no difference. So it's you know, well, apparently Logic is saying he's Black by claiming that his store is Black owned. Now, but again, now I also do want to say I do have empathic room for people who who may not present as even biracial, wanting to proudly investigate, know, engage their even half percentage of Blackness. But I do agree that that we biracials at times need to have certain guardrails put up for us, and we go too far, and you know. But that is also why, I mean, I do remember, and again, I do count this as part of my own racial traumatic experience, that because I don't think anybody should be forced into these forms of consideration at any age. But at a very young age, I did report to my mother that I would not be dating or marrying white women, in part because of that kind of thing right there. I just didn't want to have a situation where I know I'm going to want to be involved in some form of Black community, and then I'm going to go off and have a kid with a white woman who physically is not going to reflect much Blackness. And then where is the Blackness going to come from, socially, culturally, etc., if my spouse is white? So I don't know. I don't know enough about Logic and how he made his decisions and how he situates himself. But what they were describing of him in this film is very disturbing and a fun watch. So it's a fun watch into some disturbing nonsense. All right, here we go. So now let me get to this sort of the main the main sort of centerpiece for today, and before we get out of here in a little bit, and I'm going to start with this post here that I saw recently. Israel has claimed the lives of 556 members of the Palestinian football community. The human cost of Israel's genocide extends far beyond the battlefield, touching nearly every sector of Palestinian life. Journalists reporting from the front lines, doctors and paramedics treating the wounded, teachers educating children, and athletes representing their communities have all been among those killed. According to Palestinian football authorities, more than 550 members of Palestine's football community, including players, coaches, and officials, have lost their lives since the war began, highlighting the devastating impact on the country's sporting institutions. So obviously, the World Cup and sport are not the most important elements of any of these stories and suffered experiences. But since the World Cup did start, I have been, so far, I have not watched any of the games other than what at one point was on the TV in the house that family was watching. I just sort of passingly saw, but I haven't sat down and watched any games. I admit today I'm probably gonna fall off the wagon. I don't see me missing France, Senegal today. I'm not proud of that, but I'm just being honest. Being honest with you all, that I just can't. And it has been difficult, Brittany. It has, on some level. And yeah, Pancha, at some point, maybe even with you, if you want to ever get involved with some of these discussions, I know you have your own experiences, mixedness can get to be an interesting, complicated issue. And a lot of the popular discussion, much like any topic in this country and the world, is nonsense, is backwards, is not helpful. So yeah, but it has been difficult because, you know, on some level, I still do have that, you know, first of all, I love the sport. I love competition. I love the idea of countries coming together and competing against one another. I've always liked the World Cup more even than the Olympics for that kind of thing, seeing all the different people coming, you know, and even in this thing with the expansion of the teams, sort of these weird combinations, Curacao and Spain and you know, and was it Curacao that just tied them? Some small country, you know, these you know, so-called just people, countries you don't even think about very much, or maybe, you know, rarely hear of. So I like that. But it's also in some ways been easier than I thought, given how just hostile I've become to the tournament and to the people involved and to what I'm learning more about the history. So David Silberg has been sending me a number, and obviously I can't get to them all, but there's a lot of good stuff. And I did pick up one book here, A People's History of Football by Mikhail Correa, that I thought that I did start to read in advance of this World Cup. And just to go through a little bit of it, and then of course my man Dave Zirin's in there with the blurb, and Shaka Hislop. We see a lot on one of the stronger Black voices in sports journalism, although, you know, he's not really there to do, you know, former goalkeeper Trinidad and Tobago, and it's got a lot of stuff in it. And they go throughout the world. They talk about colonialism and capitalism and the history of the game and some. So I'll be coming back to it, but just a little bit from the introduction here, that the sport created by the poor, stolen by the rich. This was a banner raised by Club African supporters at a match against Paris Saint-Germain. In the introduction, they talk about the Disneyfication of the sport over the years and the ruthless, as they describe it here, gentrification of the stadiums, where it's getting more expensive. Local working class people can't afford to get to the games as much anymore. There's a rampant corruption in FIFA, the governing body, the International Federation Association of Football, in terms of who gets the World Cup, all kinds of things. And then, as they say here, the values conveyed by professional football are little to be proud of either. Too often tournaments celebrate a vindictive machismo around star players who themselves have become advertising banners and bearers of a speculative value. Racist, sexist, and homophobic diatribes are common, not only from the stands, but in the hushed corridors of the national associations. The love of the play, the game, the joy of the game, the argument is being snuffed out as it becomes more corporate and business and a representative of conservative politics. But much like the title suggests, in that sort of tradition of a people's history, the book starts to make points to complicate the sort of imperial narrative that the sport was imposed to install colonial hierarchy. And the book shows a lot of how the oppressed have developed the game, used the game, had the game work to reflect their own interests. So it says here, when the rules of the game were codified by British public schools, football became a part of the Victorian teaching model, whose objective was to instill discipline in the offspring of the bourgeoisie and imbue them with the spirit of initiative and competition required by industrial capitalism and colonial enterprise. Nevertheless, football rapidly became popular among the working classes, encouraged by a strongly paternalistic British employer class, which saw the sport as a way of teaching respect for authority and division of labor. Football spread like wildfire, like wildfire. In so doing, however, it freed itself from the patronage of the bosses, conceived by the captains of industry as a means of controlling their workers and turning them away from social struggle. The sport, in fact, helped to consolidate class consciousness. By 1918, the Marxist intellectual Antonio Gramsci was already using his column in Avanti to analyze football as an indicator of how the capitalist bourgeoisie wins cultural hegemony. Yet in parallel to the ever-expanding role of this globalized football in consumer culture, another face of football emerged from below, thanks to the popularity of the working classes. Contrary to some critics of the sport who bluntly describe football as a new opium of the people, this book argues that there is a subversive aspect to football and examines those who have made it a weapon of emancipation. All right. So perhaps we can appreciate the dialectical struggle that the book encourages us to see. All right, but for today, I skipped ahead to the chapter on when Palestine occupies the pitch. Football is a political weapon in the hands of Palestinians. So we know Palestine is not represented in the World Cup. Thankfully, Israel is not either, but largely because Israel lost. Palestinians are being destroyed and their homes, fields, land, and people wiped out. Israel just was lost. Thankfully, I guess the soccer gods stepped in, as they say, to make sure that they didn't make it to the World Cup. Although I kind of would have liked to see them in the World Cup and to see a chance for there to have been some boos and some other, I don't know, perhaps responses. Jabril Rajoub, as it starts off by saying, is a seminal, not a seminal, but a central figure in not only the history of Palestinian struggle in football, but of this chapter as a leadership, as part of the leadership of what we become an attempt to have Palestinians involved in league play. But this chapter is infuriating because so much of to read about Zionism and occupation playing out through the sport. I have to, maybe just given the time or the newness of the reading, I don't know, somehow adds another layer of devastation to all of this for me. And I don't know why. Maybe that's inappropriate, but I couldn't help but feeling like damn, man. But of course, if you're genociding people, of course you're not gonna make room for them to play football. So I mean, it's sort of speaking to my own illogic here. But in trying to get, as it says here, trying to move heaven and earth over 6 months to organize the first official international football match in Palestine, 2 days before the match, however, Israeli authorities detained their prospective opponents, Jordan's national team. But Rajoub refused to give away. In despair, I'm a Palestinian fighter. Whatever the situation, I find ways round it and prepare for a plan of action. At age 17, he was sentenced to life in prison for throwing a grenade at a bus full of Israeli soldiers. He was freed after 16 years behind bars and was deported to Lebanon after he participated in the First Intifada in 1988. So now in his 50s, he's still fighting and trying to work out some things through football. They do get a friendly match played. The match ended in a draw, 1 goal apiece, under the glaring portraits of Yasser Arafat, Mahmoud Abbas, and King Abdullah II of Jordan. 3 years later, it was the turn of the Palestinian women's team to play their first international fixture at home against Jordan. The result mattered little to the fans. A team coming to play on our land means recognition of the Palestinian state, according to player Murad Ismail Saeed. And I thought that was an interesting point that comes through. It repeats throughout this chapter. By recognizing a Palestinian team, there is also recognition of a Palestinian people and a state. The first Palestinian national team, the Lions of Canaan, was formed, right? Because it's Canaanites, right? Am I saying that right? Canaan. By the way, if you those atheist debates channels are hilarious. This whole thing in the Bible where Israel is supposed to be taking the land of the Canaanites because those are the backwards people, it's been proven and shown linguistically, culturally, architecturally, artistically that Israelis are Canaanites. They're all the same people. Or they were all the same people, not these European interlopers, but the people of the land of Canaan, the Canaanite. They were just another. The Israelis were just another group of Canaanites who self-identified, gave themselves a new name and a new myth of origin. Anyway, kind of just thought it was interesting. Just a very brief side note there. The team was formed in 1946 before disappearing in the limbo of the Arab-Israeli War of 1947-48. And it was not until the Oslo Accords were signed in 93 and the Palestinian League was laid in 95 and the Palestinian Football Association joined FIFA in 1998. But as the chapter talks about, fixtures are regularly canceled, with players or the referee held up at one or another checkpoint that divide the occupied territories. So reading this, I mean, you could just imagine the amount of travel, organization that is required for teams to play, for leagues to exist, and then you have people just arbitrarily being detained. The final straw came in June 2004 when not a single Gazan footballer was permitted to play in Uzbekistan for security reasons. Deprived of some of his best players, Palestine lost 3-0. Against a weak Uzbek side, his dreams of playing in a World Cup vanishing with it. So Israel, with all of the benefit and all of the resources, they can't ever put together winning teams. And then their argument is, but if we can't win and if we can't go to the World Cup, we're damn sure not going to let Palestinians win and go to the World Cup. And as the coach says, I don't know what players I never know who's going to be available. Israeli players travel without problems or restrictions. It's discrimination. It's oppression. And Eric Cantona, I don't know if you all know about him, but in world football, in the Premier League, he's kind of a notorious character and a figure, and he shows up heroically here. And they never mention this when talking about all of his fights and drama with the fans and all this stuff. And his time at Man United and all this other, they never mentioned that he worked in solidarity with Palestinians to support their inclusion in world football. For a Palestinian, playing football has become an act of resistance in the eyes of Israel. And I think that's important to point out that, yes, there may be some Palestinians who see the existence of a football team and recognition in leagues and international bodies as recognition of themselves. But to the Israelis, I do think it's important to note that they see Palestinians playing football as an act of resistance. So everything becomes a security risk. Palestinians enjoying a cup of tea, security risk. Palestinians talking to one another, Palestinians having children, Palestinians having getting married, Palestinians taking a walk, Palestinians having a party, Palestinians existing becomes an act of resistance. How can playing football be an act of resistance unless you're saying their simple fact of existence is resistance. Which is why, by the way, I've always kind of quietly rebelled against that claim coming from the activist left that existence is resistance. I get the point, but I think I understand it better from the perspective of the colonizer who would see it anything as an act of resistance, whereas I see the survival of the colonized, the existence of the colonized, as mere survival. The butchered half lives that George Jackson said we would all be living. And I don't find that I don't think of that as mere that mere existence as resistance. They see it as resistance because we shouldn't be here, or any form of us being here that's not in servitude. You know, I think they're doing us a favor. So I don't watch his stuff, but that white supremacist Joe Rogan affiliated comic Tony Hinchcliffe just put out his Netflix special that I saw critically is at a 6% on Rotten Tomatoes. So even his own audience hates it. But I did see this clip that they keep playing as an example of how bad it is. He tells this joke where his Latina housekeeper is saying, you know, you told me to vote for Trump, and then he's deporting my sister or my daughter. Can you help me? And Hinchcliffe's joke is to say to her, the guest bathroom toilet is clogged, and if you don't fix it quickly, you'll be joining your daughter in deportation. And I thought, but yeah, no, I appreciate the bad joke and the horrible performance, because it's revealing sort of in a way the point I'm trying to make here, that I understand I'm oppressing you. I understand I'm taking advantage of you, and I don't care. I don't care. Yeah, I told you to vote for this guy that's going to make my life better and your life worse. I don't care. You being here in any, you talking to me, you existing in any role outside of cleaning my toilet is inappropriate. So you simply existing is not resistance. You existing cleaning my toilet is necessary. Resistance is resistance. Anyway, okay. Finally, many footballers have fallen victim to Israeli military offensives. During Operation Cast Lead in January of 2009, 3 Gazan players, including international Aman Al-Kurd, were killed. On November 10th, 2012, during the Pillar of Defense offensive, the Israeli armed forces knowingly bombed a stadium in Gaza and killed 4 young footballers aged between 16 and 18, leading to expressions of outrage from some 60 European professional football players. 2 19-year-old football players, Ahmad Mohammed Al-Qatar and Uday Kaber, together with Palestinian legend Ahed Zakut, lost their lives in air raids during the 2014 Gaza war. Another episode of violence occurred on 31st January 2014 when Israeli soldiers in a control post opened fire without provocation on 19-year-old Jawar Nasir Jawar and 17-year-old Adam Abed Al-Rauf Halabia, 2 new recruits to Palestinian football returning home from training at Faisal Husseini ground. Having been shot several times in the feet and then savagely bitten by police dogs, the 2 young hopefuls will never play football again. So I just watched in a kind of twisted way 2 successive knee injuries ultimately, not by themselves, but play a major role in ending my daughter's soccer career, as it were. And to me, it's been personally, privately, quietly, incredibly painful to see her go through those injuries, one non-contact, really both of them non-contact game-playing injuries, struggle to get back, go through it again, struggle, and never, you know, it just that struggle. The idea that this would have happened as a result of an Israeli soldier and a police dog. I just can't. I can't even imagine the kind of rage that this induces in these populations. And that line reads incredibly sad to me. For again, amidst everything else read, the killings, the genocide, the idea that 2 kids can't play anymore because of police dogs and being shot in the foot. I can't. So this is again kind of why I'm even saying I don't know. I'm saying I'm probably going to watch the game today, rooting for Senegal, of course, despite the French team being an incredible compilation of African players. But it's after reading this and thinking about this stuff, like it's even thinking like, well, one of these teams might not be there if a Palestinian team could have qualified if their players aren't being shot, detained, killed, bombed. It just makes it that much more difficult while it's taking place in part here in the United States with a Trump Infantino Peace Award, them already talking about hosting under 15 games between Palestinians and Israelis after the World Cup here in the United States to heal the people, while they're talking about rebuilding Gaza as a beachfront resort for the ruling colonizing elite. I mean, it's just. But the repression of Palestinian sports dates back to the first appearance of football in the region during the British Mandate, first brought over by English missionaries and Jewish immigrants. The game spread rapidly across the former Ottoman region in the 1920s. In July 1928, a Jewish immigrant from Belarus founded the Palestinian Football Association, bringing together both Jewish and Arab clubs, excuse me, as well as those of the British colonial forces. Joining FIFA the following year, the association soon began to discriminate against Arab teams. Just out the gate. By 1931, the administrative body was dominated by Jews. Hebrew was made the official language. The colors of Israel were incorporated into the logo, and only the British national anthem and that of the Zionist movement were played at the start of matches. The takeover of the Palestinian Football Association by elites who favored the creation of a national home for the Jewish people reflected their desire to move forward with the elements needed for a future Jewish state. Promotion of the Zionist project and the institutionalization of sport in mandatory Palestine was therefore closely linked. Again, it's increasingly difficult. I don't watch any professional sports anymore. Really any sports anymore for this reason. This clear connection. Despite what this book is arguing as its core thesis, I'll have to keep reading and maybe get turned on this point, but it's still I'm not able to overcome the colonizers' use of it yet. Likewise, the association failed to include a single Arab player in its team for the qualifying rounds of the 1934 and 1938 World Cups. Please go see the discussions I've had with Samantha Youssef around Palestine in film, and particularly the Palestine 3-6 film about the 1936 uprising, where here it's recounted as sort of interrupting football. Young Palestinian footballers and other sportsmen were at the forefront of the uprisings, organizing logistics and care for the injured during the anti-British demonstrations. The uprising did not end until 1939 after a long series of strikes, sabotage, urban guerrilla warfare, and targeted assassinations.
Message.
The relentless reprisals by the British forces in the Notrim, a Jewish police force set up in 1936, resulted in the arrest of 200 senior Arab Palestinian leaders and the dismantling of Palestinian institutional structures, including the Arab Palestine Sports Federation, which ceased all activity in 1937. In the eyes of young Arab activists who aspired to independence, the Palestinian authorities had, unlike their Jewish equivalents, underestimated the role sport could play in building national identity and resistance to colonial oppression. From this point on, Palestinian urban elites would see football as a political weapon in their independence struggle. Football teaches us to obey the coach and the referee, to submit to the rules and to justice, explained a Philistine editorial on 11 March 1945. Obedience is one of the most important qualities of a soldier on the battlefield, and the war is not won without obedience. Now, to me, this is...
Now listen, that's called my boy. You know nothing about that.
A lot of the discussion in activist spaces in the 21st century could, I think, use some of this analysis. Without a willingness to accept principled leadership and be obedient to it, doesn't have to be blind, doesn't have to be backwards, doesn't have to be, but without that, there cannot be certainly a military victory, or I would argue any. But this is so I thought, so on the one hand, yeah, as we just read a moment ago, colonizers have wanted the sport to be used to even within their own Victorian English communities, instill a certain obedience and authority of the colonizer into their own populations, and certainly to the colonized. But here the argument is being, I think, appropriately turned on its dialectical head. The obedience is that it's important in the context of struggle to follow orders. But the 47-48 civil war that led to the independence of Israel halted the trend, that is the advancing inclusion of Palestinians in sport. No Arab sports institution survived the conflict, and the resulting organizational void benefited the Palestinian Football Association, now known as the Israel Football Association. In May of 64, the outbreak of armed struggle by Fatah in January of 65 loosened the state's hold on Arab football in Israel. I thought this was an important point. That I think has many political parallels. Armed struggle loosened the state's hold. For Israeli Arabs, football was a contested pitch between two concurrent tendencies: an opportunity for integration into Israeli Jewish society and acceptance by Jewish majority, or a form of political protest and national pride, according to sociologist Tamir Sorek. I thought that was an interesting point. So again, everybody can use it for what they want. But I think it's important to be clear how people are using it. So if we want to engage for fun, entertainment, or some other political purpose, fine. As long as we're clear that they have their political purpose for engaging in that same, in this case, sport. For us, it was an opportunity to publicize the situation of Palestinian sportsmen and women and to promote the Palestinian cause through nonviolent struggle. That is the participation in international competition. It was not until October 8th, 1993, just 3 weeks after the Oslo Accords were signed, that the Palestinian national team was able to play a match on its own soil. So it took 50 years after the establishment of the Zionist entity. With the official recognition of the Palestinian Football Association in 1998, the establishment of a Palestinian League, and the construction of a dozen stadiums with financial assistance from FIFA, many Israeli Arab players fed up with the racism endemic in the Israeli League were attracted to the professional clubs in the West Bank, which were then, of course, demolished. noting that they live in a racist country. These Israeli Arabs point out that they will curse you, they will curse your mother and your sister, they will spit on you, they will try to cut you off. You'll have to be pretty smart about it and know how to handle it. You can't respond to provocation. You have to stay focused. If you are smart, then you will survive. I would not have survived. I was reading same thing with the Jackie Robinson stuff. I wouldn't have made it through that either. And I don't always know if it's I always struggle. I've thought about that a lot over these. I always go back and forth. Is it better to be strong and withstand the hostility to prove a point or to create room for others or to make money even for your family? Or would it be better to just punch somebody in the mouth and walk off and refuse to play? And honestly, that's what I'm more on the side of, pun intended, the team. Like, I'm not running around here. I don't know. It's hard to say if you need the money or whatever. I don't know if you're that. But the course of my own history suggests that I would rather be destitute than beholden to someone like that for money. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying I can't imagine running up and down the field and being called out my name and spit on. No, I'm punching you in the mouth. And if that means I'm getting fired, so be it. And then you don't get to watch me play. Like that would be my, I don't know. I just can't. I can't. When Vinicius Jr., the Brazilian player, dark-skinned Brazilian player, was, at one point he walked off a field last year. And people were criticizing him. He was like, man, they're out here calling me monkey and nigger and all this stuff. And he was like, I'm not playing. And I was like, that's it. And I was like, instead of telling him to play, everyone else should have walked off with him. That's my thing. And really, my thing would have been, we should have walked off into the stands and found them motherfuckers. Like, who are you talking to? Especially if I'm a young, healthy athlete, not a broken 54-year-old. Who are you talking to? We need to. Let's see if that liquor you're drinking, if it holds up for you. Like, I can't imagine. I just can't. So anyway, I just, they were talking about death to Arabs and may your villages burn. Son, when Zinedine Zidane, I was watching the World Cup when the Algerian Frenchman headbutted the Italian in his last World Cup, his last major game of his career, got a red card. They went out. France lost the World Cup. And all the criticism, people were saying, oh, how could he do that? And I was like, what? The dude said, the initial report was the dude said, your mother's a terrorist. The story has come out, the real story has come out that the Italian player said, when Zinedine Zidane said something to him, the response was, like he said, go get something. And the Italian player said something like, I'd rather have your sister. It's not as bad as your mother's a terrorist, but I think it's headbutt worthy. It's smack you in the mouth worthy. It's punch you in your jaw worthy, to be perfectly honest. And this idea that he should have been more mature and responsible. I get it, maybe, but I just also think that if dude gets, now maybe the headbutt wasn't enough. Like, I think, you got to try to break something, draw blood or something. Especially if you're gonna get a red card. Like, if I'm getting put out the game, you at least got to get a hospital visit, right? You at least got to get a checkup. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I just always struggle. Again, with the Malice in the Palace, I was on our test team. Steven Jackson always has respect for me because he went into the stands after him. Reggie Miller went in and swung on somebody too. Like, I'm with that. You throw beer on me and spit on me? Nah, man. Nah. This anti-Arab racism and restrictions placed on Palestinian players prompted the Palestinian Football Association to file a motion with FIFA in 2015 calling for the exclusion of the Israeli Association from the international body as long as Jewish state continued to impede their freedom of movement. The FIFA president's response was merely to propose a peace match between Israel and Brazil and Palestine. But Palestinian Football Association President Jibril Rajoub fulminated, stated the obvious. All we're asking for is the respect of our fundamental rights. And I agreed with that. I would have loved to have seen that too. Either ban Israel from FIFA or make sure they're in every World Cup so that the world has a chance to, on the global stage in front of billions of people, call them out. Talk about the attempt to red card Israelis' racism through the BDS campaign, recalling how FIFA did suspend South Africa for 30 years and Yugoslavia from 1992 to 94. So why shouldn't Israel suffer the same for them being a murderous regime? Shout out to Celtic. So this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. In 2016, when Celtic played the Israeli club, or an Israeli club, they held up a bunch of Palestinian flags, and then the European UEFA, the European body, considered it a political message unrelated to the sporting event. Well, Israel's presence is a political message unrelated to the sporting event. But that's the kind of thing. So if Israel's going to be around, let them be around and let them get this. Like that would make me want to break my boycott of a game. To go to see Israel play carrying Palestinian flags and keffiyehs and booing and making a whole bunch of noise and spitting and cussing and throwing shit. Remember, I'm the one. I don't know if you all know this, but I am the one. I think this is the playoffs in 1993. Or is this 91? I can't remember what year. Maybe 91, when the Washington football team was in the playoffs against the Atlanta Falcons and Deion Sanders came to town. And I got a second seat cushion specifically to throw it at him. And I'm the one, if you ever go watch the video, the famous video of the seat cushions being thrown, I'm the one that threw the first one. I started that. People don't even know that. Yeah, January 4th, 1992. I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to show it to you. I think I've shown this before, but I'm going to show it again because I started this. I was there that day. Oh, it's unavailable. Hold up. Why is it unavailable? I was there that day. I threw the first seat cushion, and then everybody else copied me, and I specifically got two because I knew I was going to keep one and throw one. So my point is, if that was me as a largely apolitical, I don't know, slightly routinely leftist, whatever, if that was me in 1992, I threw the first seat cushion. All of that right there, that's after me. They're copying me. And I threw it not to celebrate a touchdown per se, but I threw it at Deion Sanders on the sideline. And then everybody else started copying me. I did that. Me. Yeah. So again, this would be why one, if there's to be a reason for look at Gerald Riggs, man. Wow. I used to know, I watched this. I was such a fan. Middleton, I knew all those players. Jerry Glanville, where them seat cushions at? Yeah, anyway, I did that. That was me. So maybe, maybe it would be worth going to see Israel play with some Palestinian merch. Now, this is something I really wanted to highlight and really, really like, and would love it if we could do something. It's kind of like this film festival idea that I'm we're trying to. Gazans organized their own World Cup during the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, the Gaza World Cup, under the slogan, "If you can't go to South Africa, the World Cup will come to you." For a fortnight, 16 teams from the Gaza Strip, including 14 professional clubs, were renamed England, Brazil, Italy, and so on, and participated in the World Cup by proxy. Like, that is something I would love to support. So, like, instead of the World Cup in 2030, wouldn't it be dope if we had a people's World Cup where something like this could happen, where we're like, bump that thing. We're not watching that. We're not participating. We're not supporting that. We have our own World Cup. And we could give out the France Fanon trophy and the Asada Shakur, the top goal scorer gets the Asada Shakur golden boot, and the Jibril Rajoub, whatever they say for the keeper that gives up the fewest goals. We could do all of that that would be dope. And then I liked here, I might have to become a Barcelona fan, because apparently Palestinians their favorite team is Barcelona because of their representation of the Catalan independence that they from the Spanish crown that Palestinian people identify with which Palestinian people identify. Now, Barca did mess it up a little bit by inviting a former Israeli prisoner and then trying to balance it out by similarly inviting a Jibril Rajoub. However, and I like this point. So there was this controversy because Barcelona invited this Israeli soldier, former prisoner, to an event. Then they said, when Palestinians were like, "You were our favorite team, why are you doing this?" And they were like, "All right, we'll do some balancing act." But I like this point. Barca decided also to invite Jibril Rajoub, the indomitable president of the Palestinian Football Association, as well as Mahmoud Sarsak, the Gazan footballer released 4 months earlier after 3 years of administrative detention in Israel. However, the latter declined the invitation, affirming as a sign of respect for Palestinian prisoners that he did not want to play at symmetry between the colonizer and the colonized.
Now listen,
and again, that's, I think, more of the point in the position that more of us need to be taking. We're not going to co-opt an event, a pop cultural moment. There's no Bad Bunny Super Bowl revolutionary interpretation. There's no, none of that. The only real thing is I'm not going. Because I'm not doing a fake symmetry between the colonizer and the colonized. Both the slave and the slave master cannot be right, to paraphrase Baraka. It puts the victim and his executioner on equal footing. As Yasser Saleh said, who spent 17 years in Israeli jails, told the press, football is a sport that carries a message of freedom and love, but not when a soldier is invited, because it puts the victim and his execution on equal footing. So if we extrapolate from that point, by Infantino, the head of FIFA, giving a prize to Trump and awarding him a $13-14 billion windfall with a World Cup. I think I'm on Team Sarsak. Or Yasser Saleh. I'm not going, bro. Imagine me standing up there and letting you nah. So again, that's sort of why I'm saying, why I was for me that the World Cup is worse than you think, because yes, we're hearing the endless stories about the price gouging. We've heard for years the reports about how the World Cup exploits labor, displaces homeless and the poor, sports washes, does all of these things. But in the context of this A People's History of Football book, in the context of a genocide ongoing, and then this history of the sports relationship to Palestine and Palestinians, it to me is that much worse. And to read about, and again, I'm open to principled criticism for this, but I'm admitting that reading it in the context of kids and athletes and in sporting fields being destroyed, again, in the context of this being a World Cup summer, makes it worse. It just makes it worse. All right, so that's basically it. Let me if folks have comments, questions, queries, conundrums, catechisms, cacophony, anything that I missed, please recycle them. I'm happy to do that. Good morning, good morning, good morning. No, I didn't really have beef with Deion Sanders. I was just a fanatic of the Washington football team, and he was on the Falcons. In fact, quite the opposite. I have always been a fan, quietly, of Deion. I don't agree with his religion. I don't agree with his analysis of the world, but I've always appreciated his sporting talent and his braggadocio, his confidence, and what the disturbance that it causes in the white matrix then and now. I've always appreciated that. So I didn't like him when he played for the Cowboys. I was not a fan when he was playing against my teams. But other than that, I was a big fan of Deion. I just was thinking, you're coming to my city to play my team. We're on the way to a Super Bowl. You're about to get this work, as Loaded Lux would say. And for me, that meant you're going to get a seat cushion. Now, I can't help it that a stadium of 70,000 others decided to copy me, but that was the plan. And up until probably about, it's probably been 20 years now. I think I got rid of stuff when my kids were being born, but I kept the other seat cushion for a long time. I had friends who went to the last game at RFK Stadium and brought me a piece of the field that I had saved for years. Yeah, Bo Jackson was the man. I watched baseball because of Bo Jackson. I don't even like watching baseball, and I watched it because of Bo Jackson. So, but okay, good people. If nothing pressing, thank you very much for showing up this morning. Please do all the things to support the platform. Please do all the things to support all of the other platforms that we know we all enjoy and appreciate. And got a number of things coming up that are of some interest. Of course, Friday at 11 a.m. doing I Do Not Love Boosters discussion. Sudeep is coming back the following week to talk more about the Donut King project. Of course, we got Saturdays with Renee and Black Liberation Media and Earn Your Liberation on African World Order. So we got a lot of stuff going on. Peace, Pancho. Thank you very much. France recently lost to Ivory Coast. Senegal will win. French team can't focus under decolonization fever coming from Northwest Africa. I love it. MGBX28. I'm with you on that. I'm whether I watch the game or not, I'll be rooting for Senegal. I was rooting. I do check the scores. I haven't been watching the games, but when I was rooting for Paraguay the other day, but they couldn't. And people over here talking about the USA looks so good that they might do some damn. We cannot have that. We cannot have that. We cannot have that. The USA cannot do damage in this World Cup. That would be just. Jared, you want a social platform or your own channel? I don't know. Maybe I don't understand enough of the question here. I can't keep up with Discord. I can barely keep up with. I don't like social media. I only honestly keep my accounts to promote the stuff I'm doing and other the things. I'm not. Despite the Twitter exchange I showed earlier, I'm not doing Twitter and IG and all that. I'm less and less involved. So I don't know. I like my little channel here. I like what I like this. I really have a lot of fun with this. This is so I'm good with this. And at this point, honestly, this is the only way I can really find to make any meaningful contribution. So I don't know. Cheers back at you. Okay, yeah, no, I know Paraguay is not good, but I'm just saying. I don't want to. I'm just saying what I saw in some of the press got a lot of USA folks getting amped up. The U.S. cannot win the World Cup at anything, well, except for women's football. The USA women's team, they're nice, and they've won a couple big tournaments. Hold up, what are we talking to? What OF? And I'm not on. Hold up now. Who's spreading rumors? Don't get crazy. Although I might have to start doing toe picks. We were talking about a couple more financial hits. Might have to put my dusty toes on OnlyFans. I didn't see the rigged game for Haiti against Scotland. I didn't, but I'm not even aware of any allegations. So I'll have to look into it. But I can't say I'd be surprised. And there are histories. If you look for World Cup iceberg videos and stuff like that, there's a long history of games actually being rigged. Now, some of them are allegedly older, but one actually in Qatar, there are allegations that it was rigged, that the Qataris rigged it so that Messi would win, or at least do very well, because they wanted to be associated as a brand with Messi's finally winning the World Cup. And kind of like in NBA, in kind of like in basketball, for you LeBron fans, if you just note the wild imbalances in his games, often in terms of how many free throws he and his teammates get versus his opponents, they did the same thing for Messi in the World Cup. Messi got 5 penalty kicks, and I think that's kind of unheard of in a relatively short tournament. So if you're getting 5 penalty kicks, that's a huge advantage. And a couple people even noted that at the certain times these penalties were called, Argentina was on the brink of losing or not even qualifying for the group stages. So I don't know. I would have only closed. Well done, Brittany. Now listen. Well done. Only clothes, only more clothes. Exactly. Look, if you want to pay, if there's a group of people, if there's an audience that will pay me to increasingly put on layers of clothes, maybe I will start an OnlyFans. Try to get rich. Let's put this buying power thing to test. Let's really test my thesis. I will sit here for hours and I will slowly put on more and more clothes. I'm telling you, I mean, Messi ain't no GOAT. He is nice though. I won't front. He's nice. Only khakis. There's nothing wrong with being naked. In theory, I agree with you. There's nothing wrong with being naked. Of course, there's nothing wrong with being naked. I just don't want to see it. That's all. If everyone go be naked over there. All right, so this is the thing. Yeah. If we're doing politics, it's going to be a lot more difficult to get to a GOAT, because even Pele has some crazy politics at times. So we in some level we got to keep it to the field. Got to take it to the stage. Name someone better than Messi. Pele, Maradona, R9, the real Ronaldo. Definitely better than Messi. It took that man multiple knee injuries, and then they had to drug him or cause him to have a seizure when they lost to France. So that's a few right there. Who else is better than Messi? I don't know. I'll think of somebody. Mbappe could be one day. When is your interview with I Show Speed? That would be hilarious. That would be ridiculous. But if DJ Khaled can run and race him, or was that some, did he race? No, he raced that other dude, that other fake influencer. I tell you what, I won't race I Show Speed. I'll arm wrestle I Show Speed. I'll even arm wrestle him left-handed. How about that? There you go, the real Ronaldo. Absolutely. Glad we have some intelligent viewers in the chat today. To this day, the greatest player I've ever seen play the sport. That might be true. I've seen R9 play back in the day. You know. Now, I like a lot of Maradona's politics too. Represent Che, talk about he was he represented blackness when he was up there in Naples. I'm not mad at that. Dude scored 90 goals in a year. What does that have to do with anything? I should have arm wrestled Diallo when you were in Chicago. That would have been that. Oh, that's, you know what? Maybe that's what we should arrange. Arguing this point ruined my football show. That's what ended our football show. Me saying he could never be the GOAT. But all right, listen, everybody. Thank you very much for coming through. I appreciate it, and look forward to the next one. Do all the things. Peace only if you're willing to fight for it, as Fred Hampton used to say. And catch you next time around here with.
And what did you sacrifice? Calm. Kindness, kinship, love. I've given up all chance at inner peace. I made my mind a sunless space. I share my dreams with ghosts. I wake up every day to an equation I wrote 15 years ago for which there's only one conclusion. I'm damned for what I do. My anger, my ego, my unwillingness to yield, my eagerness to fight have set me on a path from which there's no escape. I yearn to be a savior against injustice without contemplating the cost, and by the time I look down, there's no longer any ground beneath my feet. What is my sacrifice? I'm condemned to use the tools of my enemy and defeat them. I burn my decency for someone else's future. I burn my life to make a sunrise that I know I'll never see. Well, the ego that started this fight will never have a mirror or an audience or the light of gratitude. So what do I sacrifice? Everything.
I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.